Well, guys, I am shocked and amazed because this cute little package was in my mailbox yesterday, and I did not expect this until the end of the month. And what is today? I think today's out the 8th of March. Actually, it's the 9th. What we have here is a box of fun. Ta-da! All right. Aw, another little thank you envelope. Maybe it's my Vivianite, my hematite. We'll just open it and find out. Yes. Oh, I did cut myself when I slipped the scissors. Darn it. Ooh, yes. Okay, so Vivianite, my hematite, and my jarosite. I wanted these because they just looked unique and cool. So these, in case you didn't read the title fully, are the remaining Prodigal Sons paints that I wanted to try out. Before we start this really fun process, definitely check out the first video where I unboxed and used the first 7 of these watercolors. They are something special and unique. And I also did this milk jar with them, so definitely pause this video, check out the link in the corner, and get caught up if you are new here. I did want more of a red than I was able to find at the time, but maybe if I don't like one of these kind of sort of reds that I got, mine are more browns, then I can switch it out later when he comes out with the red pigment, more red pigment. So this is a little tin. Oh, that was nice. So I ordered the 3-pack of the different Naples yellows because I don't know, I liked them all. It was a good price compared to the individual pans. Went back and forth on it a few million times and just went ahead and ordered the 3-pack. So if there's one that I don't like as much, I can probably leave it out of my palette, which will leave room for the red that I want to get later. But I did try this chrome red and the hematite for my reds currently. And I know this gives me 4 yellows. I know that seems like overkill, but I really liked them.
No big secret, just love yogurt.
However, they do have lead in them. So no leaving the paint water out on the desk, not even for a bathroom break, because the cats will get into it, according to one of you. Not only that, they try to drink my paint water all the time, and I try to discourage them from that, but the fact that this has lead in it is making that fact even more urgent, that the cats are not unsupervised when I am painting with these paints. Well, I can't wait any longer. Let's try these out. Real quick, I suspected when I opened this that the reason this chrome red was put in here is because it was also toxic, lead containing, and I just wanted to go to his website and double check that before I said that to you guys, and yes, this is also known as lead chromium, I believe, or something like that. I already closed the tab, but you guys can go look up all the details of that chrome red PR103 if you would like. I did keep the swatching in here in real time and the re-wetting of the pans so that you could see how easily they re-wet. It's really nice. Look at that. It's just gorgeous. What I did cut out of this section of video, however, was me pre-wetting every single square before I put the swatch on. So I do have a nice even layer of water on each of these squares. And you can see on the paper here that every Naples yellow in all 3 varieties is the PY41. So it's really fun to see the different varieties you can get with a single pigment, which we see all the time, but here they are right next to each other. And here I am sprinkling salt on these, even though I don't expect much to happen. I don't usually see much happening with yellows and salt, but I don't expect much to happen on any of these except maybe the hematite. We'll see. And because I'm doing these so wet and wet, I am skipping boxes in between. Although even when I go back to fill in the boxes, they're still wet on the neighbor side, so oh well, but you can kind of see how it reacts in water right from the get-go. And the pigment is so strong that I do have to dab the brush off and even water the brush, so basically clean the brush out in order to get a nice gradient, because the pigment just continued through the whole box unless I did that. I'm also cutting out the part from here on out where I put the salt on. So this one's the chrome red, PR103. Again, another really easily re-wetting one. And the pigment load, look at, it's just gorgeous. It's so pretty. This one is highly granulating, and it's almost one that I bought in my original Prodigal Sons haul. That's already been linked in the corner for you because I really wanted to try these unique, highly granulating paints. And you can see I'm putting another layer on right there just to see what happens. Next up is Vivianite. This one doesn't have pigment information because it is a hydrated iron phosphate mineral all by itself. That one re-wets a lot easier than the Vivianite XD version that I had in the previous haul, However, I do think this one will benefit from adding a little bit of water first and letting it sit for a bit before using it. But you can see just that little time, totally different pigment load. Next up, we have the Naples Yellow Paris. This is a very interesting color. Again, really easy to re-wet, highly pigmented, and pretty much unique. I would say it's yellow, but like with a tint of yellow ochre, if that makes any sense. So I don't know if you can really tell that on the video here, but it almost appears just like ever so slightly dirty or muted. I don't want to say dirty because that makes it sound like an unpleasant color, but maybe muted is the more appropriate thing to say. Next up is jarosite, and this is one I do not regret getting at all. Jarosite is a family of iron hydroxysulfate minerals that commonly occur in acidic, sulfate-rich environments and mining and ore processing wastes, which I find very interesting. So what do you guys think of this color? Do you like it? It is granulating, which is really cool. Of course, for this whole set for me, I was hoping for highly granulating colors, except I needed a bright yellow, so we went with some Naples yellow over there. But what do you think? Do you like it? Last but not least is the hematite PR102, which is a natural iron oxide. This one is very opaque, so strongly pigmented that I had to really rinse my brush out and then keep doing that. And when I use it later in mixes, it is very overpowering. So it will be interesting trying to use this in my paintings and trying to get control over it properly. And then, because I did it in the previous video, I wanted to mix all of these with Roman Schmalz Buff Titanium. So I'm doing them in the order they're swatched in the boxes over there. Naples Yellow Light, Naples Yellow Paris, then the Naples Yellow Dark here. And the non-granulating colors just don't do this mixture justice. So you'll see when I get to the more granulating colors like the jarosite and the chrome red, they are much more interesting mixed with Buff Titanium. But it's fun to do this. I don't know why, I just find it amusing. Look at this one, this next one. When I put the hematite in, it basically obliterates the Buff Titanium. So I go back in with a little more Buff Titanium, but it's just too strong. So you have to be really, really careful with that one. The Vivianite here is also a little granulating, makes a beautiful color. And then I leave it on time lapse here for you to watch while they dry in case that interests you. It's not for very long, but very much sped up. In fact, it's sped up by 5,000%, so your time watching it is done about now. They are all dry, the salt has rubbed off, and as I suspected when I put the salt on, that was the only one that really showed any reaction to salt. I suppose you could say that that one did a little bit too, but it was pretty subtle. And over here, where I mixed with the Buff Titanium, yes, I did drop some paint there accidentally, but that's okay. You can get the idea. The only ones that were somewhat granulating, as I already knew they would be, most likely, was the jarosite, the chrome red, and a little bit of the Vivianite. It's a subtly granulating one, just like the one before it, although that one definitely shows up more. And look at how opaque the hematite is in the Buff Titanium. Basically two pretty opaque colors, even though I think the Buff Titanium on Roman Schmalz says it's only semi-opaque, but anyway, made a very opaque swatch. Very interesting, but that is beautiful. Can we just appreciate how beautiful that is for a minute? And here is its dark version. Well, let's make some mixes with this and see what we can come up with. I was just thinking, before we start all that fancy mixing, I don't necessarily like using these just loose. So let's go ahead and update the palette that we started in that last video using these. Get them in here, get our swatch sheet filled out, and then we'll do all the fun mixing. And for this, I'm using my score tape again. It's just double-sided, very strong craft tape. And I just put a strip on each side of the full pans and stick it down. And the nice thing about this is because it's on this rather slick plastic that you can pull it up and readjust that several times. I've already done that with several of these that I have kind of sort of misplaced in the beginning, at least in the original 7 colors over there. And then the fun part is swatching them on this really nice Fabriano 100% cotton paper. Has a really great feel to it. Whew, that hematite's strong. Can I just say, I am totally enthralled with this palette. It's so cute. I am going to hold off on taking this off the block and laminating it because I'm holding out hope that he will release a bright red for me because I really want one and I have the slot for it. It's like only 3 more weeks, I think, until he puts the handmade watercolors back on his Etsy shop. So I'll check it out then, and then maybe this can be finalized. But love it. I absolutely love it. Let's do some mixing now. All right, you can see here that I took some time off camera to make this little grid. It's something I've had in mind that I've been wanting to try in my beginner water class for a while, doing mixing like this. Right now I have them do the diagonal squares similar to what Denise Soden and several others have shown for mixing charts on their YouTube channels, but I wanted to try this so the colors right next to each other will be mixed together, and then the boxes that go down the middle of each of those will be, I guess, gradients or value scales of the color mixes. So in that first one, I'm mixing the Naples Yellow Light with added concentrations of the Smalt 200. And now I have the next Naples Yellow Paris with added concentrations of the Smalt 200 and so on. So it's just a nice way for you to see basically all the different values, dark to lights, that you can get in these mixes. And you could go even farther. I bet you could have 10 squares down or more and have a really fun mixing chart. So I really enjoyed this. I definitely am trying to figure out how to properly incorporate it into the class that I teach at the college with my beginner watercolors, because I think it'd be really useful. And yes, the squares exercises they do right now and the color wheels exercises they do is still super useful, but I think this might be even more useful. So now that we are to the chrome red and the hematite, you can see that they don't make bright oranges, which I knew they wouldn't. They're very brown leaning, but it's fun to see the mixes they can make regardless. They are very earth-like tones, and that can be useful in a lot of landscapes, I imagine, and probably some other things I haven't thought of yet. Do you see the mixes that you can get with that manganese blue? If he still has it available when he comes back in stock, I think I will pick up another pan of that just to have as a spare. It's such a beautiful color and it makes such pretty mixes, and it's so sad that you just aren't going to be able to find that pigment very much longer. At least that's the rumor out on the street. And here I was really pleasantly surprised with the mixes that I could get with the Vivianite and the Vivianite Extra Dark. Oh my goodness, they're so pretty. Such beautiful olive greens. I was a happy camper looking at those. Here they are. Beautiful mixes. Let's start here. So these definitely did not turn green, so to speak, but that blue smalt granulation comes through oh so beautifully. The manganese blue made beautiful greens, bright greens, to be expected. And here we have those. And the ones with the Vivianite, so those are more olive green, so that's good to know. And that's about the extent of greens I can make. No purples, but I do have those purples. Surprisingly enough for me. I completely understand if you guys wanted me to do a whole painting in this video, but that's not happening today. The mixing was sure fun. Getting the palette set up, the swatch sheet more set up, hoping to find that bright red. I did message him and he does have at least 1 to 3 coming up, but not until April. So I will let this sit until then and keep checking on his Etsy store. That was really fun. I know there are probably some mixes in here that you probably wanted me to do that I didn't do. And I think the only one that I feel that I should have done probably was mixing the Smalt 200 with the chrome red and the hematite. But I didn't see that until later. And I guess I could do it like here. Should we do that real quick? Oh, I don't have water. Shoot. Well, so much for that. Not going to get water right now because I have an appointment to get to, but maybe in the future we will do the smalt and the chrome red and put it in this column here, and it'll be upside down and backwards and whatever. It'll make sense to me. Probably not, but that's okay. Well, I hope this was as fun for you as it was for me. This setting up palette stuff and swatching and color mixing is so much fun. I feel like I could almost do it indefinitely. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I will see you guys in the next video, which is also going to be super fun. So subscribe if you're new down below, hit the like button, it really helps my channel out and it makes me feel good. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye for now. Excuse me.